Hello, everybody. This is Adam, the Dabbling Warlock, and today we're going to be doing day 23. Or, apologies, day 24 of Learn to Draw in 30 Days challenge. I apparently, when I created the file yesterday, I apparently forgot to change what day it was. So, whoops. All right. So anyway. Let's go ahead and just get rid of this because we're not going to need it. So what are we going to be doing today? Well, today we're going to be drawing 3 identical buildings in 1-point perspective. So I realized that yesterday I really didn't go over how to draw a perspective grid, but I did that in the first 1-point perspective video that we did with the 3 boxes. So if you don't have a real quick, if you don't have if you're not using like a piece of drawing software or something like that that has a perspective guides built into it, what you can do is most of them should have a way to draw a straight line. And if you're doing this using pencil and paper, just grab a ruler, grab something with a straight edge. One of the ways you can create if you don't have a ruler, one of the ways you can create a fairly sturdy straight edge is to take a piece of paper, fold it in half. You don't have to get it like perfect, but you just need to get like the fold to go straight across. That will give you a straight edge, and that's all you need. So what you do is you draw your horizon line, and then we're going to go ahead and get rid of that. Then you're going to pick a point on that horizon line, and that's going to be your vanishing point. So what you do from here is when you're drawing, so let's go ahead and get our top and bottom of the buildings done. So you'll line up one part of this to go towards the vanishing line, and the other part towards where you want to go. And then once you have your lines going towards the vanishing point, what you can do is you can draw your first vertical line and go from there. So this sets up your perspective grid for the rest of the drawing. And as you add features and things like that, you'll go ahead and put that in there. I am not going to be doing that, mainly because it's going to be a bit of a pain in the butt to try and get this lined up vertically and horizontally all the time. So we're going to be using a perspective grid. And whoops, that made the 2-point perspective grid. So we're just going to pop this right here, and we're going to start on a new layer. And we're just going to make sure that we have our horizon line like so. Although I think I may have goofed a little bit. So, okay. So, actually, the easiest way to do this might be I think this is going to be the best way to do it. Alright, so there's her horizon line, and we're going to go ahead and get rid of that, and we're going to pull this up, and we're just going to make sure this is actually on the horizon line. I said on the horizon line. Okay, there we go. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get started, and we're going to start by just sketching out our first building here. All right. And that's going to be a fairly good depth for this, I think. All right. And then we're just going to very gently or quickly draw our vanishing points. And then we're going to go ahead and draw where we want the edge of this building to be. All right. All right, so now we have our first building sketched out. So the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to line up our ruler to where we got it in the corners. And then we're going to draw from one corner to the opposite corner and then do it again. And what this does is this gives us the middle of this face, which we can then use, going back to our perspective tool, to mark out the halfway point. And we're just going to go ahead and do like that. And then we're going to go ahead and just line it up vertically like that. All right. So that gives us the first line there. So what we're going to do is we're going to move back to our ruler and we're going to line up this corner right here. Although, no, we don't have to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to line up where we got the line going through this intersection right here. So remember what I said about like this, the center of this X being like the middle point. So what we're doing is we're taking advantage of that, of this technique to create an exactly sized building right next to this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw from this corner to where it meets that line right there. And then we can go ahead and get rid of that and bring back our perspective grid. And then we can go ahead and draw in the tops of these buildings right here and the bottoms. And then we can draw this straight down like that. All right, so now we have this intersection point right here. So what we can do is bring our ruler back, and then we can line up on this point right there, and then we can line up and this point right here, and that gives us our third building. So if we go back to our perspective tool, all right, so there we go. Those are our, so this is the basic layout for our buildings. Now I'm going to reduce the opacity of this, and we're going to create a new layer, and we're going to go ahead and switch colors. That way we can better see what's going on. And what we're going to do is we're just going to very quickly just get our buildings put in, because the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do some layout. To lay out where we're going to put some features on these buildings. So once we get, all right, so once we get that laid out, and this is going to be the last thing we need to do. All right, so we're going to flip back over to this layer, because I don't want these lines to be as visible. So what we're going to do for each of these is we're just going to find the centers real quick. All right, like that. And nice thing about using digital tools is that you could be a little fast and loose with where you put the tip of your pencil, and it will still put the line where it's supposed to go. You got to be a little more careful if you're using pencil and paper or pen and paper, because if you do play fast and loose like this, it's not going to work out. All right, so we just got one more to go. And that's not quite perfect, but I think it's close enough. So we can go ahead and get rid of that. Then we'll move back over to our perspective tool and just go ahead and sketch in this middle line right here. And then these vertical lines. Like that. Okay, what this will let us do is give us a little bit of a framework. Now, if we come back to our normal layer, what we could do is we could just lightly draw a line for our... Actually, you know what? No, not yet. So what we could do is we could just do like a little bit more simple layout. We could draw a line for like the top of our doors, and then maybe like so that's the top of our door. The doors tend to be about 6 feet 8 inches. So if we want to have like a tall ceiling, just go up a little bit more. Whoop. Undo. Go up a little bit more, and that will be like the bottom of our floor. And then we can have our windows like that. And then we could say, so that's the bottom of our floor. So we can go back to our ruler. And we can also use this trick to evenly space out our floor. So right there, that'll be the bottom of the next floor. So we can go back to our perspective tool. Oop. All right, there's the bottom of our floor. And then, let's see. So from here, yep, okay. So get our ruler again, and we'll just flip that way. Okay, so bottom of the window, top of the window. Actually, that should probably be a little taller. All right, so that's the first. All right, so we got that, and then we do one more, and then we go back to our perspective tool, and then that will be the top of that floor. Right there. And we can also extend these out like that if we want to add some detail. some detail here, but we're not going to really worry about that. So, all right, so I think the doors being about like a quarter of the size would make sense. So we're going to go back to the ruler tool. And honestly, this is way overdoing it. Let's see. So that's the middle. So what we want to actually do, we already have one line. We just need another point. Like right there. All right. Okay, so we put a line there. And we're just going to repeat this. For all 3 of these. And that should give us our, honestly, I probably should have done this in another color. But that should give us our line. So what we can do, let's see, hold on. Yeah, this is the intersection we want. All right, so we got that. And then, again, intersection we want. And then the intersection we want. All right. And if we wanted to, what we could, and actually, yes, I do want to do this. So now that we got that line right there, all we need to do is, let's see. Hold on. No, I need to put it in this corner. Okay. I guess there. Okay, so sorry, I had to think about this for a second. All right, so then we want to go right there. Like that, and that'll get us our quarter line on the other side. And then same deal. Whoop. Right here. And then once again. And also, one of the things you may notice is that I'm having to slide these in, or as I'm going, I'm having to make this more and more vertical, because as they're receding into the distance, the space in between the lines are getting closer and closer. So there we go. All right, so switch back to our perspective tool, and then we can go ahead and put that line right there, and then same deal there, and same deal there. And it may not be perfectly spaced out, but it's given us enough of a framework to see what we're doing. And this may look like a mess of lines right now. Don't worry, we're about to make it a lot clearer. Or I'm about to make it a lot clearer. So there's the top of our door. And then I might actually need to zoom in a bit. Yeah, let's zoom in real quick. So just to make my life a little easier. And then okay. So I'll just put it right there. There we go. Okay, and then we got our door there, and then one more right here. Although let's actually try and get this on our guidelines. Okay, so there's our doors. Now we need to put in our windows. And don't worry, I'm not gonna do any more like crazy layout stuff. So, okay, so there's the floor. There's the bottom of our window for this one, and there's the top. Actually, I think I'm gonna do the top right here. So let me switch back a layer, and we're just going to draw that vanishing line like that. There we go. There we go. All right, so back. Okay, so... All right, so this is the top of our window. So let's go ahead and just draw it in. And if we want, we can put a little line down the middle like that. And then we just keep doing the same thing. Alright, so we got that one. And last one. Oh, a little too far. And there we go. Alright, and then we just put one in the middle like that. Okay, and... Probably need to add that, but that's gonna take a bit more layout. Then again, I could just guesstimate where that line is. So hold on one second. Let's see. So it's about 3/4 of the way. Yeah. Okay, so that'll be halfway, so half again as much. That should be right. Okay. And then it's about this. Hold on. Then it's a little bit. So right there. That should be it. All right. Okay, back to this layer, and then all we need to do is just draw over the lines that we want to keep. Oh, undo. All right, and then we're just gonna go ahead and turn that off for a moment so I can erase these and that. All right, so if we turn off this layer, ta-da! We have our building, but there's a couple of features that we're missing, so we're gonna turn this layer back on and actually go back to it and turn that back on because we also need door handles. So we're just going to draw a line right here, and we're not going to worry too much about trying to get it exactly even. I could do some stuff, but I think it's fine if we just guess or get close. Although, yeah, actually, hold on. We do have... Alright, so let's make this a little bit bigger. All right, so there are our door handles. And then we're just going to add some squiggles here. To kind of show reflections in the windows and give it some interest. All right, there we go. And of course, you can go ahead and like add any details that you want to. And honestly, you could get a lot more detail than this. The main point of this was to show how you could. The main point of the exercise was to think about how you space things out in 3 dimensions. So we can go ahead and get rid. Actually, hold on. I just realized that there's one more thing that we need. Let me zoom out. Or actually, there's 2 more things that we need. So let's go ahead and bring this back. So the first thing that we need is we kind of need an idea about where the sidewalk is on this. And then we just kind of something like that, and then I'll continue going a little bit like that. All right, so something like that. Okay, so we got that. Now we just need... yeah. All right, there we go. So we can go ahead and get rid of that, and it doesn't quite look quite so strange. All right, so yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. This one took a little bit longer, mainly because I was trying to be a lot more, or I got a lot more into the weeds on this one. So I hope you had fun. I hope you'll join me for day 25. This is the Dabbling Warlock signing off.